If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. That really, really does a lot for us. Also, make sure you tick that notification bell to follow up on everything that we're doing. And if you're listening on any of the audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you like, click the subscribe button. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you leave a comment and rate us. We really love when y'all interact with us, and it helps us out a lot. Appreciate y'all.
And we showing everybody how to grow their confidence. One for all and gold like Donovan Gold. So we go beyond the game, beyond the same. Changing the culture and the land. To the court, to the field, to the skates. Get the real from the gate.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Beyond the Game podcast. This is the Leadership Academy, and today I have a very special guest, Miss Jess Hanson. Jess was a UBC basketball guard from the years of 2015 to 2020. She played all 5 years there, a 4-year starter, 3-year captain. She was the 2015 and 2016 Canada West, and she made that all rookie team. She was also the 2019 and 2020 Canada West third team All-Star. Jess did her undergrad in kinesiology, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. She has her master's in coaching. While let me just make sure that everybody hears me here. She did her master's of coaching while playing professional basketball in Ireland. She signed a contract to go play for and I'm probably going to butcher it, so I'm going to let you actually say the name of the team you played with in Ireland and the team you're playing with right now.
Yeah, I played for the Tipperary Knights in Ireland, and that was just for a year. And then last year and this year, I've been with the Kiel Sharks in Würzburg, Germany.
Kiel. It's Kiel.
Yeah, I say cool. I say cool.
Okay. Because when I was reading it, I was like, there's no you. How do I say that? But you know what? Okay, that's awesome. How has your playing experience been so far? How was the transition from university ball to pro ball been for you?
So the transition was interesting because of COVID. So my first year, luckily I got to finish my senior year at UBC without any hiccups from COVID.
That's great.
But then in Ireland, I was actually only there from September until November or December of 2020, and I never got to play. So first experience of playing pro overseas, I was working. I was doing some coaching for their school, and I ended up working like full-time teaching hours for the PE department.
Okay.
In Ireland, yeah. So I was like, and it was like full lockdown, so I couldn't even practice with the team. I was just training by myself and living in Ireland and like working as a teacher, and I was like, what am I doing here? It was crazy. Yeah. So then I got to go back home in December because our season got canceled. And I trained with UBC for the rest of the year and into January, and February and March. And then Deb Huband, the coach at the time, she kind of connected me with Janet, my coach here in Germany. And yeah, that's how I ended up here in Germany. So.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And just off camera, we just kind of talked about you guys being in first place in your division. First place. They're doing great work. How's your season been so far this season?
It's been unexpectedly great. Coming into the season. Yeah.
Okay.
We coming into the season, we weren't really sure what to expect. We didn't really have a lot of expectations for the year. We lost some key team players, but we also kept like a core group together, which is a huge advantage overseas because there's a lot of turnover with teams every year. So we just, I don't know, found our rhythm and connected on and off the court, and we've just been gelling really well, definitely on the court and off the court, but it shows a lot on the court. And it's been a fun year so far.
That's awesome. I'm actually really glad to hear that, because I can only imagine being in a new country on a new team and just the fluidity of pro sports and having players in and out of the roster. You have no idea what to expect, but I'm glad that you guys are doing well and you seem to be enjoying it. I saw.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I saw the stats from one of your last games, and I'm pretty sure you led the team in scoring. You led the team in assists. Like, you're just killing it out there. So good for you. Keep going. And I'm excited to get going on this conversation and just hear a little bit more about you and your perspective with everything. So with that being said, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into playing basketball? If I'm not mistaken, your dad is the head coach of the UBC men's basketball team.
Yes.
So has basketball been kind of around your family forever, as long as you've known?
Yeah. So my dad started at UBC in 2000. So I was 3.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I basically grew up in War Memorial Gym, the gym at UBC. So yeah, I've been around basketball. I've been around the coaching lifestyle, team sport lifestyle for, as long as I can remember. So lots of sports growing up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go. What is leadership to you? Because I know, I'm pretty sure I read an article that your mom has also been in leadership positions at a high level for a very long time as well. So you've been around leaders your entire life, and you are a leader in your own right and have been doing it for a long time as well. Can you define leadership for yourself?
Yeah. So thinking about leadership and what it means to me, I think obviously it looks different for everybody. And I think it can look different in different situations. But like overall, I think it's about positively influencing and guiding people around you, to kind of help them and help them find leaders within themselves. So that's kind of what it means to me. And I think that, like, in different situations, it can mean being more vocal, being that strong voice, that strong presence, but also kind of knowing when to take a step back and when to like allow space for others to come into their own and for others to be leaders as well. So, yeah.
Okay. And how did you come up with your definition for yourself? Is it something that you kind of always gravitated towards, or did you kind of grow into that?
I think I've grown into it. I mean, I've been extremely fortunate to be surrounded by like just such amazing leaders, a lot of amazing female role models and leaders. Like my mom is a huge one. Allison McNeil, a lot of basketball figures, even Megan Pinsky, the one who connected
Yeah.
you and I.
Yep.
There's so many names I could drop. Who are just amazing female leaders out there that I've been able to learn from. And I think also it was like Deb Human. She kind of, in my third year of UBC, I was the oldest on the team. And
Wow. In your
in youth
third year.
sports, and in youth sports, like
Wow.
when you have 5 years to play, it's a pretty young squad.
Yes,
So,
it is.
I was kind of, I was given an opportunity to be the team captain starting my third year. And I was more than happy to take on that role and to learn as I went. And yeah, I think a lot of it was just learning through trial and error, learning from what I had seen for others before me. You kind of learn a lot what not to do, but also I've been fortunate to learn a lot of like good leadership skills and seen a lot of good leaders and learn by example. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really good. It's so important to be able to have those positive influences around you, those people who you can look to develop your own character, to develop your own sense of self, if I can say that, and your character and the way you go about yourself. I think that's really, really cool, and we can actually touch on the people a little bit later. But let's talk a little bit more about you.
Okay.
What was your upbringing like? What was your upbringing like? How did you grow up? You said you pretty much grew up at War Memorial Gym, which is really cool. I hear stories of pro athletes. Their parents played pro and they grew up at these big stadiums, just shooting around with the other pro players. And can you talk a little bit about your upbringing?
Yeah. So, like I said, like growing up in War Memorial, my upbringing looked like Friday nights were game days, right? And that was the most exciting day of the week. I got to see my dad in his game day routine, like at home, watching his like afternoon movie, and then the assistant coaches coming over before the game, and they would bring me candy, so that was always fun. But yeah, and then my mom and I would go to the game, and so just like an upbringing, being around just the fun and the, I don't know, the spirit of like team sport and growing up in like a competitive environment. And I remember like I would go to my dad's practices that were 2 hours because my mom had work or something else. So I would just, you know, go play in the gym while my dad's team did their practice. And I remember I'd like teach myself, okay, I'm going to learn how to dribble between the legs today. So, so yeah, so just fun, like, I don't know, growing up in a very big sports environment and with two parents that were, they weren't like pushing basketball. I played basketball, I played volleyball, I played soccer. I remember when I told my dad soccer was my favorite sport, and I broke his heart a little bit that day, but that quickly changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so an upbringing where I was around two very supportive, very driven parents who like strive for excellence within the field of sport. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Exposure early. That's
Yeah.
actually what my wife and I are doing with our son right now. He's a year and a half, but he comes to all my basketball games. He goes to all her soccer games, and we just expose him to all the different sports. I'm pretty sure in his play yard, he has a volleyball, a basketball, a soccer ball, football. He has just all the sports. We're like, hey, we love sports and we want you to as well. But if you don't, yeah, we might be sad, but it's okay. We'll do what we do. But exposure. I think that's important, right? That's awesome. At what point did you realize that you wanted to play professional basketball?
At what point did I realize? I think this was always something that it was just like a dream of mine. Sports was always a big part of my life, and to be a professional athlete, like that was just so cool. And I remember one year at UBC, we had to look for something from our childhood that like meant a lot to us and show it to the group. So I was looking through my room for whatever I could find, and I found this piece of paper that I had written on and drawn up when I was in elementary school or something. And it was the dates of all the Summer Olympics and how old I would be for each one. And I wanted to go there for track and field or basketball. And I'd like written it all out. And I think the last one was like Tokyo 2020.
Wow.
So yeah. So, I mean, obviously I didn't make it to the Olympics, but it was so cool for me to find that and be like, oh my God, I've wanted to be a professional athlete, or just how much like dreams and sport meant to me. Yeah. It was just, it was cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that. I really do. It's one thing to have hoop dreams. It's one thing to have these desires to go play pro. But I think we all know the statistics of someone actually make it to the professional level is very low. So at what point did you realize that you playing professional sports was a reality?
I think in college, like I was pretty, I don't know, it's easy to just be really wrapped up in college, and you want to make nationals and you need to perform, and you're wearing so many hats, like in the classroom and in the community and on the basketball court, of course, with the teams. So I didn't really, it kind of hit me like in the second half of my fifth year, maybe, when I started talking with one of our coaches, Sean McGinnis at the time.
Okay.
And he connected me with this team in Ireland. And I remember like the first day I had a phone call with the coach in Ireland. I could not really understand him. But I remember like getting off the phone with him and being like, oh my God, like, is this really going to happen? So I think that's when it kind of hit me. Yeah. When I started thinking like about after university.
Okay. And obviously that year in Ireland didn't actually pan out, unfortunately. But I still think there's obviously layers to it, but in every kind of negative situation, there's something that can be good from it. You having the experience to teach in Ireland, in a new culture, new environment, completely out of your element here, being in Canada. That's something that very few can say they've done right out of school, right? And so I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool, and I'm glad that you're going. And you're how do you feel? How is your body standing up to the pro level? Your mind still locked in?
Yeah. It's cool when you kind of think about that. This is my job right now. Like I'm getting paid to like have so much fun on the basketball court and do this every day and live in such a cool country. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of differences between obviously university basketball and pro basketball over here. I think it can look pro basketball over here can look different depending where you are, what team you're at, how much money your club has. So yeah, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. And do you have, not to put you on the spot or kind of out you or anything, but do you have a kind of a plan for how long you want to play or kind of where you want to go after you're playing?
Yeah, I want to play overseas for as long as I can. I just think
Fair.
it's like an amazing way to see the world, to meet such great people and make connections, and you just learn so much about cultures, but also about like basketball and sport and life, and yeah. So I want to play for as long as I can, and then afterwards, I don't know what comes next. I think I kind of know, like I want to be involved in the community. Female mentorship is huge to me. Yeah, I
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, if you are ever interested and when you come back, you let me know and we can figure something out because I would love to
Okay.
have someone like you on my team, being out there and impacting community as you do, because I
Thank
think it's so
you.
important. So yes, you have
Cool.
you have a spot as soon as you're ready. So you let me know.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, thanks.
Great. Can you kind of walk us through kind of like a what a week looks like to you? You play on Saturdays, and what does the rest of the week look like for you?
Yeah, so this is, I think, something that not a lot of people back home are used to or maybe know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, like things are so different depending on which team, which division you're in and which team you're on. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, what a week looks like is that part of my contract here, part of how I get a lot of my money that I get paid is they gave me a part-time job with a company that sponsors our team.
Nice.
Yeah, so I work 20 hours a week. So I work from 8 to 1, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I work in the marketing department of that company, which is really cool. Again, like another experience that I never ever would have gotten like without
Mm-hmm.
this. Um, we practice as a team twice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then again on Fridays, we have practice and then games on Saturdays. So
Mm-hmm.
then Mondays and Thursdays, we go to the weight room and lift. And then we don't have any basketball things on Monday or Thursday, which is something I'm really not used to after university
Mm-hmm.
schedules. But it's something that, yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it right now. It's pretty good work life balance, so to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Okay. And has there been people that you've looked up to in terms of giving you the inspiration of making it to this level and continue to play at that high level?
Yeah. Um, that's a great question. I think a lot of that is thanks to being able to, again, grow up in an environment like War Memorial and watch Deb Huband and Carrie Watts coaching
Mm-hmm.
some amazing female athletes who also went on to play overseas. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll drop some names like Chris Young and Erica McGinnis.
Mm-hmm.
Just some great female leaders who I was fortunate enough to watch and to get to know and to chat with. And Chris Young was a big part of myself getting to UBC or
Mm-hmm.
why I chose to go to UBC. She was a big part of the recruiting process. And it's funny, I'm actually playing this team I'm currently on is a team that she played for
Oh
when she
wow.
played overseas. Yeah, it's funny
Wow,
how
those
that worked
connections
out.
are awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I'd say just watching those UBC girls and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. When you first got to I guess okay, Ireland. When you first got to Ireland, were there leaders that you kind of looked to? I know you didn't necessarily play with the team, but were there leaders that you looked to kind of help you get your footing in your teaching role? And then, same if you can answer the same question for when you got to Germany.
Yeah. So, are you talking specifically? Okay. So I'll answer Ireland. I'll say this.
Okay.
I was looking up to these two like great twins we had on the team who had, one of them had played pro in Australia. They were both moms. They were both teachers. So I was looking up to them, and the team would kind of look to me for like leadership stuff, which was something I didn't expect. But then like it makes sense because I was the only pro on the team. I was the one coming in with, they assumed I was coming in with all this knowledge and I was going to be a huge leader and do all this and this. And it was just something I was like, oh yeah, like I guess so. I just wasn't used to coming into a brand new environment and being assumed that I would just take over. So that was interesting. It was something where I was like, kind of had to learn, or just to bring more confidence, have more confidence in myself immediately. And not that I ever want to just walk into a new place and, take over. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience for others to be looking at me when I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
We're all figuring it out day by day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Germany? So when you get to Germany and you're playing this season, were there leaders, captains, coaches, people that have been in and around the organization for a while that you looked up to?
Yeah. So we've had our coaches and girls on the team. We've had them, people who have been here for many years. So obviously I was looking up to them and kind of just following a little bit. I think that's also part of leadership, is knowing a little bit when to follow, or when to take a step back and just learn and observe. So that's what I did. And just to kind of get the ropes in and to understand kind of the team dynamics and the team culture, because obviously it's different than what I was used to for 5 years at UBC. And yeah, so I had teammates who were great vocal leaders. I had teammates who led by example really well. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what is your preferred leadership style? Are you someone that is quite vocal, or are you someone that kind of is in the background and will pull someone to the side and kind of talk to them? How do you lead?
Kind of both. I think there's definitely space for both. I would say, like at UBC, I would say I was way more of a vocal leader. And over here, as I've been trying to, I don't know, kind of observe more, I've been a lot leading by example in like just in what I do in the weight room and work ethic and like bringing intensity to practices. That was definitely last year. And then this year now I've gotten more comfortable and more confident in getting back to that vocal leadership. Yeah, having more confidence, having been here for a year, and feeling like a bit more deserving of that type of presence on this team, if that makes sense.
Got it. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's so important that we're able to adapt. We're able to be fluid in how we approach people, because it's the same. I feel like people forget that when you are leading people, you're leading people, not robots. Yes. So not everybody's going to respond the same way. I had a coach in high school, my first football coach. He said, I am a yeller, but don't take it personally, because I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at you, but I'm not yelling at you personally. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so I kind of got used to people yelling at me and kind of talking to me and making sure that I'm them being loud and them being kind of up in your face. That was a good thing. Realized later on, I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan of that. You don't have to yell at me to get your point across. And so personally, when I'm going at it, I don't yell. I'll yell at the team. Kind of, if they're on the court or on the field, whatever, doing their thing, I will yell to make sure they all hear me. But when when we all come to the bench, we're having a conversation. At the end of the day, we're grown people. We don't have to do any of that, right? So, being able to be adaptable and recognizing how someone else wants to be led or how someone else responds to being led is so important. And being able to, like you said, being able to adapt. And I think what you said is very key there. Being able to step back and observe, because there's so many, I feel that there's so many people that will step into a situation and kind of force their way in, and it's like, this is how I'm leading, and this is how it's going to happen regardless of what you like or not. That doesn't really bode well very often, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you did the great thing in my opinion of just sitting back like, okay, how are the players on this team reacting to different types of stimulus? How are they responding to being yelled at, being talked to? Now, how can I step in and lead this group of women well, right? And so I think that's great and something to be admired, and that's a great example for all of us. Honestly, that's fantastic. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so have you had you've been there a year? Is this your second year with the team in Germany now, or you're still your first year?
This is my second year. Yeah.
Your second year with them. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In your time, have you had difficult experiences with leadership? And if so, how have you kind of overcome those?
Yeah. So I think all of us at one point or another have kind of witnessed or experienced the difference between good and bad, poor leadership. My dad always says, like, sometimes as a coach, you learn a lot of what not to do. And I think that's the same when it comes to leadership, when you're kind of seeing different types of leaders and leadership examples or experiences, you learn a lot of what not to do, maybe. And I wouldn't say that's been necessarily the case over here in Germany, is a lot of bad examples of leadership. I think there's been a lot of good examples. But if I think about my time, like throughout my whole sporting career, for those tough times and how I've been able to kind of overcome them and push through, I think that it's interesting for team sport because a lot of the time, sometimes a negative experience or maybe a negative leader, be it a player or a coach, sometimes teams can gel around that. I think, like, in cases where I don't know if I've ever really experienced this, but in cases where, maybe there's a poor coaching leadership example or something in that instance, I think sometimes teams can like really gel around that and become a family in that way. So yeah, I think overcoming bad experiences like this is all about just learning. And I think communication is a huge piece, because if something's not working, people can't read each other's minds, right? We have to be able to communicate this and communicate what is going to work and what might need to change. So
a friend of mine, actually somebody I did a podcast with, said that your bond really forms when you go through suffering together. And what he means by that is that if there's adversity, how are you going to respond as a group? You can grow stronger, or you can let it break you apart, right? Pressure builds diamonds or bursts pipes. Which was going to happen, right? So I think you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It really depends on the culture of the team and the people in that locker room, in that team, to really help facilitate that bonding. Right. I think that's very important, and being able to recognize that something's happening and we can't necessarily get rid of it right away, but how are we going to respond to it, and how are we going to come out on the other side of it? I think that's very important. How has your leadership developed over your years playing professional sports?
So like I said, I think in Ireland it started almost like I was starting as a little freshman again into my like professional career. And that was kind of started with me having to find that confidence again, and like a little bit of, I guess, rookie or imposter syndrome, being like, oh, this is my first year here, like a little bit nervous, like feel like you have stuff to prove. You want to, obviously, a lot of pressure to perform. So I'd say my first year in Ireland was about like realizing like I need to be confident. Like, of course, I should be confident. I earned it being here. Like, I bring a lot of things to the table. So just kind of owning that. And then last year again, it's so interesting. Like starting again from scratch in a new environment. So Ireland was one, meeting totally new people. Then Germany, again, starting again, meeting totally new people in a brand new city, and this time with a language barrier.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, a few steps backwards, have to find that confidence again. But I think like this year, I've really been able to find that, and I've stepped up in a lot more vocal ways with the team, in practices and game situations, in the locker room. I do our scouting film for our opponents, before games to help my coach out, and that's been something I've really enjoyed, and been able to make videos every week on our opponents and what we have to focus on. So I mean, that's kind of helping me in my coaching development, but also in my leadership a bit, still wearing that yes, I'm an individual pro player, but that's also like wearing a team hat, so yeah.
Okay. Special shout out to Round Ball Basketball, a twofold grassroots entity that not only provides the all-around basketball experience for all athletes of all skill sets, but also uses the game as a platform to impact its community. Contact them at roundball.bc on Instagram to get involved. The Washington Kids Foundation and Game Ready facility has provided a safe place for children and youth to develop and pursue their goals and dreams. The high-level coaches comprised of current and former pro, Olympic and university coaches, and athletes provide a supportive and competitive environment for each individual to be challenged in order to reach new personal bests. The Game Ready and Washington Kids Foundation journey of development ensures the path includes growth of character, leadership, and passion. All attributes that are valued through every stage of life. I think that's really cool that you're able to wear all these different hats and be a pro athlete, but also kind of step into that coaching side of it as well, right? You mentioned that you do the scouting, you do the tapes for your team. I think that's fantastic. And do you do that because you want to, or you do that because that's kind of a something that you saw that was missing and that was needed as part of the team?
Yeah, that's a great question. My coach does a lot for the club and for this team, and for a lot of other youth national developmental teams as well. So like it's hard for her to do everything. And I also coach on the side, and I was coaching 2 days a week. And I thought it would be a cool compromise to coach 1 day a week, and then I'll also do our opponent film, so I can help my coach out a bit. And yeah, it worked out great. It was kind of I'm helping her, helping me type thing. It's a mutually beneficial thing. So yeah, that's how it kind of happened.
Okay, that's cool. Can you briefly kind of touch on some of the skills that you learned at the University of British Columbia and brought over to your professional career?
That is a great question. Yeah, for sure. I really do think one of the biggest things I learned that developed definitely over time was a little bit of, I'd say maybe two major things. So one would be learning how to lead lighter. So so what I mean by that, when I was thrown into that captain role in my third year as one of the oldest on the team, it was a lot. It was a lot to take on, and coaches had very, very high expectations on and off the court, and a lot did fall on my shoulders, and that wasn't even including like performing on court. So I think at first it was easy to be super intense all the time and kind of lead with a little bit of more weight on your shoulders. But I think over time I've learned to, I think it took to my fourth or fifth year to learn to just lead a bit lighter, like that there's space as a leader to have fun, to, for show extra encouragement to people, to, I think, take time to check in with people off the court, take time to just send an extra text, extra note, an extra high five, an extra chat after practice, and with a smile on my face, not as super, super intense as I was at the beginning, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. And then I would say the second thing was also learning to leave space for others. So something that was super interesting was in my 5th year, I remember having a conversation with my coach, and for her kind of telling me that, like, feel free to, like, you can take a step back, you can leave space for others to come into their own and also be the leader. Like, you don't have to keep doing everything, type thing. And not that I was, controlling everything and wanting to do everything. But like, I think they noticed the load on my shoulders, and obviously others needed to be leaders for the following years and development. And so that was interesting to, like, purposefully not volunteer for something, or purposefully not put my hand up to answer questions, something little like that, right? Just leaving space for others to kind of, own their space as well as a leader. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I think that really speaks to kind of the mentality we have as athletes to really want to take ownership of everything and to make sure that it's done right. And
Yeah.
we are going to do it right. And your coach kind of, I guess, giving you permission in a sense. Like, it's not like you were looking for permission to let go, but but your coach telling you, hey, Jess, you can take a step back, it's okay. Then I feel like that's a subconscious load off our backs, and it's like, you know what, okay, I can take a step back. It will be okay if I don't do everything. And I think that that's so important for us, one, for our own sanity and mental health, not to be burdened with everything, but also realizing that we, like I mentioned before, we're not dealing with robots, we're dealing with people. We need to be able to understand people and build these relationships, and like you said, lead lighter, being able to check in with people, being able to have conversations that are not about basketball, be able to have put a smile on for someone, be able to go and have a coffee, or just kind of build those interpersonal relationships that might not necessarily happen on the court if we're not being intentional about it. So I think those are two very important things that have happened, and I'm very glad that you're able to kind of take those with you onto this next part of your journey. How has it been different leading a group of university women, now leading a group of professional women who are grown and trying to make money to put food on their tables?
Exactly. So I think what's interesting is that I am the only pro player on this team. So no one else is really making money, so to say, in that way, which is interesting. But obviously and I do play with girls who are still in college over here. So it's super interesting. Yeah. But it is a bit of a different, like, understanding, because I'm not looked at as a 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year senior. I'm just looked at as, the pro player on the team. So yeah, right. It's so interesting. There's so many different pro player examples over here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go.
Okay, so you are being paid to play there, but some of the other girls are not being paid to play. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really trying to wrap my head around the entire concept of it all, but okay, there's systems that we might not understand here, and that's totally fine. It works, and things are happening. Okay, so if they're not being paid to play, are they? It's a club. So does this club have multiple teams? Is there a men's side as well? How does that work?
So the men's club is in the 1st division, and they are completely separate than our club.
Okay.
Our club we have a lot of different sports, a lot of different levels of basketball teams, but we're the highest level of sport and highest level of the girls basketball on our side. Nice. And other teams in our league, the players do get paid. But yeah, in our club, it's a little bit different, just money wise. But I mean, there's no like there's zero animosity, there's zero that doesn't affect us in any way. And yeah, to answer your question from before, like the differences in leading this group of women between leading, my university teams. I think the title of being a pro player comes with a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more pressure, a little bit more expectations of being a leader, and having the answers, being able to communicate this with other players, being able to help them develop, help them grow on court, all while navigating this between a language barrier. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You've also mentioned a couple challenges. One, obviously, you just said the language barrier. Do you guys have a translator on the team to help with that?
Everyone speaks really good English.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone speaks really good English. There are just times where, it takes just a little bit more effort to really communicate or get the point. Sometimes things get lost in translation, but again, it just comes down to the importance of communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've also mentioned that you've had to kind of take a step back and observe everything and everybody. What has been the biggest challenge for you in that transition from university to the pros?
Specifically thinking leadership?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say it's that confidence piece. I think it's like owning that same confidence, that same leadership ability, and the confidence that comes with that as I had as a fifth-year athlete at UBC, where, in a space where you've been coached by the same coaches for 5 years, you've been around some of the same girls for 5 years in the same gym, same environment. And then, starting all over in a new country, brand new country, without your family and your friends. Like I lived 10 minutes away from UBC, right? So it was this like super little bubble over there. Whereas over here, you have to find that confidence in a brand new place. Then they don't speak your language. There's conversations going on that you have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And you have to find that confidence even like in this company that I work for in the marketing department, which is something I never studied, but now I'm like, working with our website a lot, our company website, and doing things I never, I'm just learning as I go. So I think, it's just that confidence piece has been the biggest thing that's, to develop.
And how has that development been for you? Have you been able to kind of find it quickly, or is it something that has taken some time?
I mean, I think it took me some time. I think that there's a huge advantage to staying somewhere for a second year. Like this year being here as my second year, I'm just like, the second I got here and I was driving on the Autobahn, I was like, whoa, it feels crazy to be in such a foreign place, but it just feels so familiar. Like I was so comfortable walking around the city and, stepping into different leadership roles this year as some of our older players aren't on the team anymore. So yeah, just a huge advantage being here for another year.
That's awesome. Okay, well, that's fantastic. Thank you for explaining some of that, because I definitely threw me for a loop when you said that some of the players weren't paid and some are.
They should be.
Okay,
they should be.
They should be. Yes, absolutely. Yes, people go watch these women play because they're fantastic, and trust me, you want to see
Thank you. Yes.
Pay people. Yes. Pay your players, man. Jeez. Ugh. Anyway. Okay. Okay. So from your perspective of a professional athlete, can you give yourself advice if you went back to high school? Can you give yourself advice on kind of what you should be doing, what you should be changing, the habits you should be developing? And can you answer the same question for yourself in university?
Yeah, for sure. So if I were to sit down with high school me, I definitely tell myself to be nicer to my dad, who was my coach at the time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he'll just be shaking his head when he hears that. But yeah, that would be the first thing. But I think as far as habits go, I think, he really instilled a lot of work ethic habits in me, and my mom did too, of course. And programs like we had back then, like Center for Performance with Allison and Mike McNeil, two basketball legends. Just, I think the habits that I was slowly building then stayed with me throughout my university career. Like those set the foundation. And not to say that in high school I was in the gym at 7 a.m. every morning getting shots up. Like, no, I wasn't. For a few days, for sure, a few days a week, for sure. But I mean, I think slowly it helped me realize like I needed to be, putting in extra time. I needed to be doing all of this. It wasn't just enough that I was an athletic high school player, right? I had to, all of a sudden I was on a university team with all of the best players from their high schools, for university, or for high school, that's what I would say. For university, I think I had pretty exceptional work ethic habits. After I think it started after my first year, summer of my first year, it really kind of clicked for me, with my work ethic habits in the weight room, on court, getting shots up, my diet for sure. I think, like, I remember one conversation I had with my coaches about, like, maybe tomorrow don't go into the gym and get shots up, maybe just sleep in. Like, just conversations where it's like, don't burn yourself out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
So I would, yeah.
Yes, on sleep. Yes, rest, recovery, not not going hard all the time. I think that's so important, and we all need to hear that message. We all need to hear that. So that's great. Okay, well, thank you so much for this entire conversation. I know I've had a great time, and I love getting to know you. And I honestly, I can't wait to keep getting to know you. I hope, and following along with your journey in Germany. Love to hear that your team's #1. Hope you guys stay there and do big things. Do you have any projects or initiatives that you have going on right now, or that you're potentially thinking about in the future?
I would say more so what I've been thinking about.
Okay.
Would be something around, I think there's lots and lots of room for more female mentorship. And I know that Megan Pinsky, this is kind of her field with the Vancouver Basketball Foundation. And she does a lot of trying to develop leaders in young women and helping them find their confidence. So something in that area. And I think just being able to somehow connect with these young athletes, and specifically females, so I can definitely relate to them, and just kind of helping them, like, educate them on, what comes after high school, what the recruiting process, if you want to play, like, there's options. And for those that want to keep playing after university, like, there are a lot of options out here that I think people don't realize. Like, you don't have to be, like, there's options out there if they want to go a bit away from home. So those are some things I would love to kind of work on after I'm done playing.
Absolutely. I am a huge fan of Megan. I love her. I've been able to work with her quite extensively for the past 2.5 to 3 years, and it's been awesome getting to know her and kind of the heart she has for young athletes, for young female athletes especially, and something that I think our relationship is going to continue on, and I can't wait to have you part of that as well. And so thank you so much for your heart in there as well. And how can we connect with you? Are you a person that likes to post a lot on socials, or are you kind of post every now and then?
I would say Instagram would be the best way to connect with me. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so as soon as we can, as soon as we drop this episode, I'm going to post your Instagram stuff in the show notes so people can follow you. Jess, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for being part of this. Please go enjoy the rest of your evening. I know it's late for you. What time is it for you right now? It's
10:30.
Yeah, go get some rest, please.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Beyond the Game podcast. This has been Jess Hanson, and this is the Leadership Academy. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Have a great day.
Different names for success, but we gon' taste. Keep it metal on 10, gon' be okay. Gold medals round neck, CFL rings, Bill Kings, Queens, BTG, repeat rotate.